There is some major momentum building for the recruiting efforts in 2023 of several programs, but there is none that I need to speak to you about tonight more hastily than Billy Napier, Blue Chip Billy, as he's known on the streets, and the University of Florida. Look at me smile. Why am I smiling? Well, you know what? I think it's been a great week for us. And by us, I mean Florida and Lake Kick. Can you really get one without the other? I want to take you back to June 25th. It's not that long ago, right? June 25th, things weren't going so great for Florida recruiting. They had missed out on prospects. They were going nowhere fast, it felt like. And so some of the intel that I was getting, I don't really care whether it was true or not at this point. I'm going to take credit anyway. Some of the intel that we were getting led me to believe that they needed to kick it into a different gear on the NIL front. I thought that there were some mechanisms that needed to be in place for Billy Napier behind the scenes that just weren't exactly in place. There was some stuff written in pencil that needed to be written in Sharpie. And so I decided to take a stand because that's just the kind of guy I am and that's just the kind of show we are. You see how bright and colorful the show is, but as you know, when we go back in time, if you're watching on YouTube, things get really gray and really hazy, but I need you to listen to this 40 or so seconds from June 25th. Roll it, Colin. And if you're not putting your coaching staff in the best position to go out and acquire talent, then you can either do one of two things. You can either recalibrate your expectation level and lower it and say, good solid 7-win season, that's what we want, Billy. Or you can give him the resources he needs to go out and compete. And right now, he's never going to come out publicly and say it. I don't think he's operating on a level playing field with some of the other staffs you're asking them to compete against. I don't think he's operating on a level playing field as Georgia. I don't think he's operating on a level playing field as Miami. And that's got to change. I think Florida's going to have to take one on the chin in the 2023 recruiting cycle. What do they do moving forward? And what position is the staff put in moving forward? I wanted to get a mannequin hand from Party City downtown so I could pat myself on the back because of me, really, let's be honest, and solely me, maybe a little bit of Katie Turner and the folks behind the scenes down there at Florida too. They have turned things around. I've got a Post-it in my hand, and it says, since that day, they have landed 15 four-star commitments. They've got the number 10 class in the country. Kelby Collins, top 100 defensive lineman, who Alabama badly wanted, from the state of Alabama, no less, recently committed to Florida, over this weekend, actually. Will Norman, another top 150 defensive lineman. They got Cameron Jones, four-star defensive lineman. They are on fire. I never, ever thought in my wildest dreams I would see them at any point this cycle in the top 10. And now, not only are they at number 10, they're looking to climb inside the top 10. And you want to know another fascinating stat here? Just fascinating stat. As we have spoken about, you and I, many times on this show, I don't believe so much that you need to reshape the college football playoff to get more competitive balance. I am a believer that if someone would take hold of recruiting the state of Florida in-state, and ditto for Texas and ditto for California, it would divide the talent up a whole lot more. And it would therefore divide maybe that competitive balance a little bit more in the sport, because Alabama's gotten fat on kids from Florida. Ohio State's gotten fat on kids from Texas and Florida. That's where they've gotten fat. And that leads me to this stat. 16 of 20 kids they have committed right now are from the state of Florida. In stat. Good for Billy Napier, good for his staff. If we even played a modicum, just an ounce of a part in that, then good for us too. Next up, LSU. As highly as Florida's rated, Brian Kelly looks at him and says, cool, look at us up here. LSU's rated number 6 right now. LSU's kind of on a roll too. They landed several kids this past week. We just spoke about them like 3 days ago, but they landed Kylan Jackson, who's a 4-star defensive back, since the last time we spoke. And look at the SEC recruiting rankings right now. LSU up there at 3rd. They had, I think since July 4th, they've had 6 Louisiana kids commit. So I come to you tonight, humbly but arrogantly, and I ask you, is Brian Kelly fitting yet? Because I don't have a good feel on this, because I never ran my mouth about whether he was going to fit down there. Is he fitting? Does he need to be top 5 before we know that he fits? Do we need to see him on signing day land the top 5 class before we know that his style works in Louisiana? I will probably sometime in January run a montage of all of the foolishness that we spoke about at the time. We called it out at the time about folks, making fun of dance videos, making fun of an accent, saying this is not going to work down here. Those people, predictably, have disappeared. I don't know what swamp they got tossed into down there, but they have disappeared. As foolish people tend to do in and around the state of Louisiana. I know, you know, let's move on. Penn State, they made a move here. The Fighting Producer Jessies, as expected, have landed Jackson Smolik. This is a kid that we got to see up close at the Elite 11. It's an interesting story. I don't think a lot of you know about him. He just decommitted from Tulane. He is committed to Penn State, and he got a last-minute Elite 11 invite. We were out there, and they were bringing us all the kids, and they brought Jackson Smolik, and I didn't tell him at the time, but I'll tell you now. I had to whisper in one of our guys' ear, hey, get me a profile on him, please, because I didn't have a profile on him. Because I think they had a spot to fill, so they called him. He's from Iowa, and they got him out there last minute, and he came out there. Man, he was so loose, I don't think he had time to be nervous. And he was ready to compete, and he held his own. I think as a result, you're probably going to see his recruiting ranking climb a whole lot more than where he is even right now. But he committed to Penn State. I think he's got, like I said, an excellent shot to climb up in the rankings. Penn State is now sitting at number 11. So I think quietly that Penn State class now sits just outside the top 10. Oklahoma, we will probably never do a show again without talking about at least one verbal commit for Oklahoma. Jacoby Johnson is a really good player, and he's from a really good city, Mustang, Oklahoma. Where else would you rather be from? No one from California answer that, please. I don't want to deal with that tonight. But four-star athlete, 6'3", 185. Do you know how many things you can do in life if you're 6'3", 185 in high school? So he's got the world at his fingertips. He's going to play for Brent Venables in Oklahoma. I think he could play either way. I'm not sure what they plan on doing with him, but I think he could play either way. Oklahoma, number 7 class in the country, about to cross that 92 average player threshold. So they're rolling. Ohio State just landed a 4-star safety today. Jayden Bonzo, one of my more favored names in this recruiting cycle. He's from New Jersey. Ohio State's they've always recruited that entire, I would call it a corridor pretty well. New Jersey's been kind to them. It's been kind to Michigan too. The entire DMV area as well. I know folks in the Northeast love when you just group all that together, but I'm from Columbus, Georgia, man. Like, what else am I supposed to do? So we got a lot of movement. I know Clemson made a move today. It was past deadline. It was past cutoff. So Florida, though, LSU, Penn State, Oklahoma, a lot of big movers. Be paying attention to recruiting. If you wait until December, it's already passed you by. That's the new cycle. That is the way of the world now.